fabulous. There's a rabbi I know, a man with a beautiful heart, who, whenever he's asked how he's doing, answers, fabulous. And I always believe him. He has this orientation to life that is so positive that no matter what, when asked, the answer to the question, how are you, is always fabulous. How are you is a question that I've been asking, and I'm sometimes asked of myself a lot these days. And I've appreciated the candor of your answers. Most people are claiming to be managing or doing all right under the circumstances. Some of you are struggling. You are lonely. You're worried about your family. You're concerned for the shul. At this uncertain time, you're feeling unsettled, not knowing when normal, even a new normal, will begin. Some are doing better than I would have imagined, but no one has told me they're fabulous. We begin reading the book of Bamidbar this week. It is a book of both wanderings and stasis, all in a barren, wild land. Our ancestors seem to move circuitously. They know where they want to go, but it's unclear the route they would take and how they're going to get there. Much time was spent sitting and waiting for the next big announcement, waiting for the manna to arrive, waiting for the next episode of craziness from another disgruntled fellow traveler. This began 2 months ago. No one is fabulous. We're waiting. We're plotting. We know where we want to go, but can't necessarily see a clear path of how to get there. How we'll reopen a business. How we'll get our kids back to school. How we'll get our customers back. How we'll continue having services in shul. At the start of this book about wilderness, we find a strange comment. The Midbar begins by God instructing Moses, Se'u et rosh kol adat b'nei Yisrael l'mishpachotam leveit avotam. Literally, lift up the heads of the whole Israelite community by the clans of its ancestral houses. Lift up the heads. It's not a message to make people stand proud. Rather, the biblical idiom for count. Moses is instructed to take a census. At the start of their journey, God, in essence, asks for an inventory. Who are we? Do we have the people necessary to carry us through this wilderness crisis? What are the physical resources that will carry us through this journey? In the Midrash, Rabbi Pinchas ben Edi suggests that this biblical idiom, lift up the head, hints at something else. Perhaps at this crucial moment, when the Israelites looked out onto the Sinai wilderness, Rabbi Pinchas says that God should have instructed not Se'u et rosh, lift up the head, but rather Romem et rosh, or Gadel et rosh, exalt the head, or magnify the head. Perhaps at the start of their journey, they should have been offered words of chizuk, words of strengthening. That's what they needed. A group who is anxious and tired and scared could have used such words. But instead, Moses is commanded to lift up the head. What does this imply? Rabbi Pinchas's answer is pretty unbelievable. He brings us back to the dreams of the chief butler and chief baker. To the butler, Joseph says that Pharaoh shall lift up your head and restore you to office. To the baker, Joseph says, Pharaoh shall lift up your head from off of you and shall hang you from a tree. Rabbi Pinchas teaches that as they begin their journey, God intentionally uses language that will invoke dire consequences. This could end well, or it could end very badly. You could get through this uplifted and honored like the butler, or you could find your end uplifted and hung from a tree by your head like the baker. The choice is yours. It is a terrifying proposition, but what it does is it puts the destiny of the community in their own hands. I'll be with you in the fire and in the cloud, says God. But your ultimate fate isn't actually up to me. Your circumstances, your environment, they're imposed on you. How you react to them, how you through them, is entirely in your hands. The famed psychiatrist and survivor Viktor Frankl wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." Similarly, he taught, everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. This is, of course, easier said than done. It requires a tremendous amount of self-work to find uplift and remain positive during difficult times. But with support, including the shul and its clergy who remain here for you at all times, it is possible. It is normal to feel down. It is Jewish to challenge yourself, to change, to feel, to be better. You may not get to fabulous. I like to think that we can get beyond managing. If we can't move forward, I at least want to make sure that we are maintaining ourselves for the future, that we are ready to continue as before as soon as possible. I have a 3-night canoe trip booked for Algonquin in August. And Parks Ontario is reminding its users that even once they can open for business, it'll take some time to clear the trails. Without use, without regular maintenance, wilderness has quickly taken over the pathways that we are accustomed to get us from A to B. What we had before needs a lot of work before we can resume even regular use. For ourselves personally and for our community and its institutions, let's be sure to hold our heads high, to maintain whatever regularity is possible, both because there is value in that itself, but also because the more we hide away from routine, from connection, from prayer, from learning, from caring for one another, the longer and harder it'll be to return to it once this new wilderness is behind us. Though at times it feels much longer, it was only 2 years ago this parasha that I officially was installed as your senior rabbi. I noted at the time that we had just recited the words Chazak, Chazak, v'nitchazek. Be strong, and may we strengthen one another, as we finish the book of Vayikra. I shared then, Tnu Rabbanan Arba'at Srichin Chizuk. Our sages teach in Masechet Brachot of the Babylonian Talmud that when engaging in 4 activities, one requires chizuk, strengthening. Torah, Tfilah, Umasim Tovim. The first 3 are learning Torah, reaching out to God in prayer, and performing good deeds. These are the same activities that Shimon the Righteous declares in Pirkei Avot to be the very foundation of the world. They are also the same activities that comprise the central mission of Adath Israel Congregation. Under very trying circumstances, I am grateful that through the strength of many, we've been able to continue learning Torah, to continue growing in our community tefillah, and to greatly increase our performance of good deeds. What of the fourth? The fourth and final activity requiring chizuk is fulfilling the duties of one's chosen occupation. These past 2 months have been remarkably challenging. The needs of the shul continue, the needs of the shul community have increased at a time when our resources, including some of our staff, access to the building, my books and files, and the chizuk we get from seeing all of you has decreased. Personally, together with Deborah, I am home all day with 3 young children whose lives have also been totally upended and who require constant supervision. To end with a thank you to those who have reached out to me to provide me chizuk, to strengthen me so that I can fulfill my role and guide and support you as your senior rabbi. Shabbat Shalom.